beautiful beings of light. I hope you all are well. Welcome to this channeled energy report. This is going to be kind of like a conglomerate channeled message as we are entering into a new moon on May 11th in Taurus. We are in Taurus season as our sun has been in Taurus since April 19th. And there's a lot on the horizon, moving to a moment where we are going to see a full moon, blood moon eclipse at the end of the month of May. So the way my team has explained it to me is that we are kind of like in a metamorphosis soup. So I've got a lot to talk about, not just the new moon that's happening on the 11th, which is kind of the central focus of this, but I've really been receiving a lot of messaging lately, and it all kind of ties in together, and it's taken me a while to really discern it and get to a space where I feel like I can do a message. But I feel like I'm at least mostly there today where I can communicate. Although, once again, I am struggling with my throat and being able to have a voice to speak. So you'll kind of just have to bear with me. I have a lozenge here, and I'm hoping that that'll help assist me. So when I last left you, in my last channeled message, we were experiencing a full moon in Scorpio. And with that came a lot of intense energies, much more intense than even I anticipated. I know many of you have been messaging me saying, wow, this was super intense. Has it been for you? And it was. It was very, catalyzing, disruptive. There was a lot of eruption, a lot of triggering, a lot of release of pressure, really just kind of stirring, everything with a stick, that was down below the surface. It all got brought up. It all got brought up to the surface. And, at the end of this, I said we would come out of it, like the phoenix, rising from the ashes. And it really did feel like this moment where, so many, templates, paradigms, belief systems, ways of doing things were, kind of burned, or disrupted, or, they were transmuted and alchemized, hopefully, in the best of situations. And we are really still seeing this kind of play out. The sun has been in Taurus, and that's really a building, like a building energy. And we got this, prior to this full moon energy in Scorpio, we had a lot of this really high vibe energy coming in that was, really electric in nature. And now we've moved into this energy where, this huge, dust cloud's been kicked up and everything is kind of settling. It's kind of settling into this new moon energy, which we're going to experience on the 11th. And we've been kind of asked to draw back, get contemplative, get into our own energy, settle in. And many of you may have been experiencing this as, kind of like a disruption, but it is with reason and purpose. I know myself, I have been spending a lot less time, on social media or in communication with others. I haven't felt as chatty. I've been deep in meditation. I've been in study, contemplation, really just deep in these energies. And so I know that you're feeling that too. So if you have felt that you were like on this, you were finally getting into a groove of things, or you had a lot of energy coming in and just that hit a wall, that is for a reason and purpose, because you're being asked to kind of draw back in and root and ground yourself. Taurus is a very slow moving energy. It's a earth energy. It's a very sensual, tactile, physical energy, and we're being pulled into that. We're being asked to root in, really ground ourselves, which I did, say would be, problematic, that we could get, too kind of off into the emotions, into the mental energy. And this is giving us an opportunity to ground down into this Taurus energy. And although it's an energy that's known for building and physicality, what my guides have explained to me is that right now, this whole new moon, now remember, a new moon, we're setting intentions, okay? It's the beginning of a cycle. And what we're going to be building is a frequency. We're going to be building a frequency. The title they gave me for this is Timeless Time and the Illusion of It. And, I kept hearing that chorus from the song, Time is on My Side. Yes, it is. And that's really a lot of what the crux of this message kind of revolves around. For many of us, time has been speeding up. We feel like we can't quite get a grip on it. We might have a grip on it for a while, and then it's kind of elusive, or, it's going so quickly, we're not quite sure how to manage that. And again, that has to do with the fact that, we are in a whole new dimension, a whole new paradigm. The imagery they keep giving me, and where we're leading to this with this eclipse energy at the end of the month, is that we're not moving into a whole new chapter. This is a whole new book. We can't do things the way that they've always been done. We can't look to old templates for the way that it's been done before. This is brand new. This is a whole new paradigm. So we need to give ourselves some credit, and we need to give ourselves some time to figure it out and to really kind of take the pressure off. And I do feel like this Taurus new moon is going to give us a little bit of a window where we can kind of take the pressure off, enjoy our environment, enjoy our home. We have on the 13th, so the new moon is on the 11th, and on the 13th we have Jupiter, which, remember, is this planet of expansion. It's known as this planet of luck, is moving into its home sign of Pisces, which is, very dreamy energy. So we will have this window between the 11th and the 13th where we can kind of ground down, get comfortable, get into these energies before things begin to kind of get shaken up again. And really what they're explaining to me is that it's to begin to view time in a completely different way. One of the things they've been emphasizing is that time, we all know this, that time is not linear, okay? It's cyclical. And they kept showing me the infinity sign. And that time is really an expansion and a contraction. It's a breath. And that in any one given day, we may be moving through 2 to 3 different points in our bandwidth of energy, which some of you may know as timelines, okay? But they really are not timelines. They're just frequency fluctuations. So one of the biggest illusions that we carry in on this human journey is that time is finite, that it's linear, but also that it's consecutive. Time is not consecutive. It is an expansion. It is cyclical. And we can move at any point, okay, in time, depending on our bandwidth and our frequency. So if you look at this from the perspective of tethering, okay, we're these torids of energy, okay? We're these torids of energy, and we are tethered in to all of the planetary bodies, and through our pillar of light, we're tethered into the higher dimension, which is then tethered into the black hole energy, and through the pillar of light on the bottom, we are corded in to the earth, okay? So if we take this same torrid and we look inside here in the center of this, we can see a ball. And this is kind of what it looks like. So we are constantly looped into these energies, and they all run on a frequency, okay? They all run on a bandwidth. And during the 1221 gateway, these new higher frequencies came online. Our ability to tap into them came online. This was a new fourth dimensional consciousness. Now, just because it came online didn't mean that we were corded into it. And the work that I'm doing here with tethering and with quantum tarot and these messages is to aid and assist you in tapping in to the higher frequency. Now, we got a push, okay? When the equinox energies happened, we got a push into this new expanded bandwidth. We were pushed through the door. So first it was made available to us, then we were pushed into the 0 point. And now we are holding firmly in this fourth dimensional energy. But we are corded in to all of these planetary bodies, okay? And they all have their own grids and memory complexes and their own emphasis. They are a personality aspect, a fractal aspect of the universal galactic energy, which centers around our sun, which is our future. It is the main consciousness, which has created these planetary bodies, which are part of its personality, its whole body, okay? And we are a piece of that, just a tiny little piece of that. And we are running on frequency. So if I take us and I expand us out, you can see that based on whatever frequency we're running on in any given day and on our cords and tethers, from what they've explained to me, we may be jumping through 2 to 3 different parallel timelines that are very close in nature to us in any given day. So if you wake up in the morning and things are going fantastic, and you know you're around your family members and you're all high vibing, then you know you may be on this cord and tether. But then something happens and you allow it to change your frequency. Now you're down here. Then you come back up and down and up and down and up and down. So we're not actually quantum jumping timelines per se. They're just frequencies. We're just moving into one state of being to another. And the fact that we view time as consecutive, I did ask them about that. You know, what was the point of viewing it as consecutive? Some of it's around control, the controls that were placed on here. Some of it's about, being in these human avatars and up until now in a third dimensional reality, our capacity to understand time. So we viewed it as consecutive. We viewed it as linear because our consciousness had not corded into a frequency yet where we could see it as anything but. But now that we've stepped into these new fourth dimensional realities, we need to begin to view time much differently. One of the hallmarks of fourth dimensional template is now knowing that time is not consecutive. It's accessing the what they call the Great Tapestry. My team calls the Great Tapestry. You may know it as the alternative space, okay? The quantum field. It's lucid dreaming. It's understanding that we are more than these physical bodies. It's understanding that there is more than our perception of linear time. But now it's about building that into our physical reality. And that is the next phase that we are moving into. It's what we're being asked to do. Okay? So if we view time as cyclical and we view it as infinite, okay, if we view it as, this infinity sign, and I'll draw one here. Just kind of bear with me. Okay, so if we view time as cyclical and infinite, we can view it, what they've shown me is that we can begin to view it as a breath, as an inhale and an exhale in any given day. So we wake up in the 0 point, we expand into the fullness of our day, okay, the midpoint of our day. Then we begin to come down into the exhale of our day. We enter the dream state, which is just another reality, okay? That the end, the death of this breath, of this cycle, is now the beginning in our sleep state of another expansion and contraction. And on it goes until we leave this avatar, we step through the next door, and on it goes. So what they're saying is that every day is supposed to be a reset. We expand out, we move into sleep. In our dream state, we have another expansion. We move in and out, in this cyclical, infinite way. And what we're doing is we're carrying over a frequency, our dominant resonant frequency. And we're carrying over this frequency from this life and from quantum, our fractal selves. All the other experiences that are happening simultaneously. And it's this frequency that creates the illusion of consecutive yesterday, tomorrow, today, when really there only is now, and it's all happening now. This you and this version of you and this aspect of you, it's all happening now, and it's all, if you can see inside here, one you. And the more we can begin to see ourselves as quantum, the more we can begin to harness our dominant resonant frequency in this waking dream and in our sleeping dream, the more control we will actually have over our physical efforting, over our reality creation, by allowing it to expand and contract naturally, by allowing the reset to happen. And ultimately, we gain control by letting go. So, the more rooted we are in linear time, in the past, I've talked about this before, the more identified we are with the automaton within, the more we are corded into these lower vibrational cords and tethers, the harder this transition is going to be for us. Because ultimately, we at this point should be in a space where we are practicing becoming the observer. We are shedding the automaton within. We do understand that up until this point, programs have been running the show, and we're awakening to that. That is the essence of this new paradigm, this new book that we're writing, that we're creating the template for. And so this new moon energy, the intention is, and the questions, we're meant to ask ourselves is, what do you want going forward? What does your best life look like? And where can you let go of these constraints of time? how can you look at time as more of a frequency? And can you observe where you're shifting multiple times in any one given day? Can you begin to view yourself as energy and frequency instead of a spiritual being in a physical body even? This is the next step. This is the next phase of our evolution. And this is where we're heading in this new moon in Taurus. And ultimately, after this eclipse at the end of the month, where we're going to be pulled into, because we are always being pulled further and further and further into expansion. So I'm going to pull up some of these notes that they've given me on ways in which we can begin to view ourselves as energy and frequency and get more into ourselves as energetic beings versus these finite humans having this linear experience. Okay, so here are the messages that they've given me. That each day is intended to be a reset, an observation, an expansion, and contraction. And as we expand into day, we contract into night, and then we're expanding during sleep, as I've shown you in this infinite cycle. And the carry over to that is always frequency. And again, the control comes from these programs embedding us, rooting us into the past. And the more identified we are with the physical existence and reality over vibrational frequency, the more we are actually held in time, okay? And we can live out our entire life with the years passing by without ever progressing through time and space if we are held in the same vibrational frequency. And many people don't understand this. We're always expanding and growing. But if we don't do much of that in a lifetime, in, let's say 100 years, 80 years, then we are still in the same frequency that we came into. And we are just going to continue to play these infinite cycles out until we expand and grow. Now, those of you exchanging energy here with me understand this, which is, why you're consciously, creatively, intentionally pursuing your awakening and your expansion, which is exciting. And that consecutive time is the greatest illusion that we have here in this human journey. I think that and separateness, understanding now with these, fourth dimensional templates coming online, that we are moving into unity consciousness, and we're now letting go of this idea of separateness, which was prevalent in the 3D reality. The other thing that they wanted me to explain to you is that I talk to you a lot about these astrological events. Today I'm discussing with you the moon, the new moon in Taurus that's happening on the 11th. And that it's a way of us connecting on a frequency as to where we're at in any given now moment. But that, if you were watching this 5 years from now, okay, it would still be applicable to you then, even though that moon has passed, that time has passed in our understanding of linear time, because you're tapped into that frequency whenever you're tapped into that frequency. This is just a way of us being able to communicate with one another with a template. But it's really more about the cords and the tethers, the energy tethers, and the frequency that they are vibrating at in any given now moment. And we're just using astrological terms in order to communicate with one another. Again, many of you have been messaging me about this idea of time, speeding up and feeling it speeding up, and the manifestation capacity becoming faster, and this is something I discussed in one of the last channeled messages, not this past one, but the one before, regarding and during the equinox. So if you want to go back and look at that these abilities after we entered this fourth dimensional template of manifestation of magical, what had been perceived before as magical type abilities, where we're seeing energy, we're seeing the illusory nature of things, we're seeing elemental beings, we're able to see through the veil. We have a passing thought and it's manifesting much more quickly. This is all due to the fact that our dominant resonant frequency, our light body, is vibrating higher, and therefore time feels faster as a result of that. So that is absolutely a byproduct of where we are moving, and it's just kind of this confirmation that yes, we've moved into this amazing new template. So again, the main thing that they asked me to convey is that we are asked now to break free of these ideas and beliefs, to let them go, okay? And that we cannot begin to build a new templated reality based on physical efforting and physical time. That was then. That was 3D. This is 4D. This is now, even though it's all now. But you know what I mean. That was the 3D vibration, the dominant resonant frequency, and the dominant experience of a third dimensional reality. Now we're in a fourth dimensional reality. So the dominant experience is going to become that time is not linear. Time is not consecutive. We are quantum beings. We are in a constant expansion and contraction. And now we're beginning to integrate these ideas into our physical reality because we're feeling it, we're experiencing it, we're intellectually understanding it, and we're unifying that in the heart and in the mind. And by becoming the observer, by shedding the automaton within, we're getting into that 0 point more often, which is where all of the power comes from, in shedding these constraints, breaking free, rising from the ashes. So this is the next phase in our evolution. But how do we realistically, day to day, we all have appointments, and, we have jobs, and we may be working a 9 to 5, and we have commitments. How do we marry the experience, the human experience, with our quantum selves? So here is the advice that my team has given me. Become aware of how often linear time is dominating your frequency. Are you feeling pressured by time? Is time dictating the way you feel? Begin to look at your days as an expansion and a contraction, an infinity. And that's when I was shown this symbol. So are you allowing time to dictate how you feel? Because if you're feeling pressured for time, and then all of a sudden your frequency drops, you've now moved on to a different frequency, i.e. a different lifeline, a different timeline. Okay? When, it's just that, like the vacation effect. When you have all the time in the world and you're feeling high vibe and you're having the best time of your life, and then the day before, it's time to go back, and now, you're arguing and everything's going wrong for you, and you're, having panic attacks and everything else because you've allowed the idea, this illusion of finite time, to drop you down into a lower frequency. So becoming aware of how often time is dictating, this illusion of time is dictating how we feel in any given now moment, is one way we can do this. Another way is, as we begin building our new template around vibrational frequency, it only makes sense to begin the expansion and contraction of our days with frequency, meditation, running slides, etc. So if we are going to begin to break free of this idea of time, we must view ourselves as energetic frequency, as light beings. And it only makes sense that the next step would be to value the most important points of the day. Okay, the 0 point of our day. And also when our brain waves are more conducive to this, right? When we're in this theta state, the 0 point is to begin this 0 point of our waking day and then moving into our sleeping day with meditation, with mindfulness. Now, I meditate in many different ways. I love guided meditation. It's been amazing for me. I've practiced many different types of meditation. I do light kind of therapies. I do a version of meditation where you focus on your other senses. I love subliminals, binaural beats, drumming. Sometimes, at the end of the day, when the weather is conducive and I'm able, taking a bike ride and I stop along a bench and I look out at the water. Sometimes in the morning, it's a walk in nature. I am not going to sit here and say you have to meditate in a certain way. It's more about making the priority your frequency above all else. And in that, identifying more with yourself as frequency and energy than you do as a finite avatar in linear time. Another thing, and I'm experimenting with this right now, so I'll definitely have to follow up, and I'd love if you guys begin experimenting with this. I'd love your feedback as to, what your experience was. But as much as you can, given the constraints of your current reality, build your scheduling based around the expansion of the time cycle and the contraction of the time cycle. So if we know it's going to reach a peak in the middle of the day, what I've begun doing is if I wake up at a certain time, I calculate the midway of the day where I am waking and when I intend to go to sleep. And so what I've begun playing with this week is as that is building, as it's building, that's the expansion of my day. And that is when I'm doing the most physical efforting. And when I reach the midway point, then I'm scheduling things that become more and more relaxed and take less and less physical efforting and mental energy. And I will have to say, I have been able to get more done just in the few days that I've been experimenting with this than I have in previous days. Another thing is really that's kind of developed for me, and it's something I've done previously, but I'm finding that it's really helping me, is so using this template of an expansion and a contraction, and trying to put the most, the physical efforting, the taxing aspects of your day on this expansion, okay, is to segment intend, to write out and segment intend. So by creating this container around time, but also viewing the template as an expansion and a contraction, we're able to let go of the idea of linear time, but actually control time or the perception of time more fully. And it's something I'm definitely going to continue to play around with. The other thing they've explained to me is don't be afraid to change it. If you had set yourself into a thing and said, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. every day and meditate, and you're doing that and it's not working for you, change it. Change it to something that is working for you. Some of us are more nocturnal. Some of us work really well in the middle of the night. I'm finding when I can get up mega early that I am able to get so much more done in these like wee hours of the morning than I was like in many, many hours previously. Now, there are times when that really works for me. And there are other times when I'm downloading information, when I'm, doing a lot of channeling based on what, the planetary bodies are doing. I'm not able to achieve that. And it used to really get me down and frustrate me. And even recently, I was frustrated with it because I had been doing so well with this, new schedule. And then all of a sudden, it was like my body was not allowing me to do that. And I've just, let go of the pressure of it and just decided that I'm going to begin viewing it as this expansion and this contraction. And whatever the parameters are around that, the waking and the sleeping, doesn't really matter as long as I'm honoring the breath, the inhale and the exhale of that cycle. Because, they've shown me that everything is a cycle, whether you view that as, a pregnancy to a birth. And, after the birth, the mother and child, or the father and child, the caretakers and the newborn, they go into this expansion and this contraction again, where they were expanding into the birth. And now they're in this contraction phase, and they're in this, this cocoon, and they're getting to know each other, and they're in the energy of that. Whether you look at our seasonal cycles, it's the same thing. It's a constant expansion and then a contraction. And the more we can honor that, the lunar cycles are the same way. We are now entering on the 11th, this new lunar cycle, this intention setting, and it's going to build and build and build until we get to this huge peak, where we reach this, this eclipse energy. And that's when, everything is going to burst forward, and then we're going to come back in again. And so as much as possible, if we can look at everything as this constant heartbeat, this constant inhale and exhale, and try to align our flow state with that, the more we're going to be able to break out of this illusion that time is consecutive, that there is a past, a present, and a future, and that it's finite in nature. The other thing that I have done, at least for probably the last 10 months or so, and I will continue to do that, which I would recommend highly, is to give yourself one day a week out of time, completely out of time altogether, where there is nothing on the schedule, where you detach completely from social media, where you don't look at the clock. You just get into the flow state, you get into a creative space, you rest your body, you recharge your batteries, and you step out of time. I do this one day a week. It started as a necessity due to my EDS. I do a lot of, physical efforting and blocks of time. And then my body needs to recharge from that. I've had to look at myself energetically for a while, because it's not that people with EDS can't do these things. It's just that the constant dislocation and relocation of your joints means that you have to manage your energy in a different way. You can go and do these physical things, but then afterwards, your pain levels are going to be intense, and you need to rest and recuperate, and you need to rest the joints that have been dislocating and relocating over and over again. So it began as this, it was kind of born out of necessity. But then I found that it was these days where I was the most creative, where I was channeling the most information, where I was really recharging myself spiritually. So as a practice, if you can, and not to look at this as like, you're treating yourself. This is, what your bodies, all of your bodies, your energetic body, your etheric body, your physical body, your spiritual body, the totality of you, when you begin viewing yourself as an energetic being, needs to sustain in a thriving state, not a survival state. So those are some of the ways that I hope, that they've given me, and I hope help you begin to build your frequency, begin to allow you to step out of this illusion of time, the most prevalent, illusion that we face, this idea of consecutive time, that it allows you to begin to see yourself more as a frequency, and really start observing how many times in your day that you are moving between, approximately 2 to 3 different timelines, jumping around, mini little quantum jumps, because these aspects of you, your consciousness is moving into these, various different aspects of you, which then is going to dictate those around you. I had an interesting conversation with someone the other day about, moving into different timelines and tools of revision, and is it mind control if you're envisioning a different version of that person and they begin to display that, when in the reality of this situation is you're not impacting them in that way whatsoever. What you're doing is you're changing your frequency. Okay, you're changing the frequency, which changes the line that you're on in frequency, which then means when you interact and you meet a version of another person on that timeline, that is a higher version of them or a lower version of them. And that is what you're seeing in any given now moment. So we're not, in essence, that version of them always existed. We're just meeting them where we're at. It's why you can have this easy breezy, beautiful relationship with one person and a completely tumultuous relationship with another, because you're fluctuating between 2 to 3 different timelines based on the bandwidth that you're holding in any given now moment. And you may be meeting someone, when you interact with them at a higher point, and with someone else, the dominant resonant frequency that's created between the two of you is in a lower point. But if you move your dominant resonant frequency to a point where it cannot be swayed, they have no choice but to rise to meet you or fall out of your reality altogether. It's just the way that the energy works. So yeah, I hope that helps. This is going to be a very, comfortable new moon energy. It's going to be a very, kind of like, again, this extension of this release and pressure. We're going to have a few days where it's going to feel very expansive. It's going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel contemplative. And it's preparing us for these very, I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but these very life-altering kind of shifts that are in the works for us, because we are on this new timeline. We are in this new paradigm. And this eclipse is really going to drive that home. So, really take some time with this new moon energy. Set your intentions. Try something new. Ask yourself how many times in a day you're being dictated by time. And, begin to see yourself as more of this energetic being. We're going to be looking for calm and peace and harmony. And look at ways that you can cultivate that. Irregardless of what's going on in your external reality. Because that really is where we're shifting our focus. And, you know, if I can, I'm going to pull some tethers of the sun and get a deeper dive into this with some quantum tarot. And I will post that as a separate video. But, and absolutely, I will be, posting an update for what to expect with these eclipse energies. But until that time, let go of time. Let go of linear time. Let go of consecutive time. Step out of time and begin building your frequency. Love, light, and blessings to all of you. I'm sending you all big, big, big love. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Just wanted to say I love ya. Scully loves ya. Bye.